Welcome to the Zen Superman podcast. This episode today is for you if you feel responsible for making other people happy. And yes, it's a strength that you're so nurturing, caring, empathetic, and you want to just make your loved ones and your friends and everybody around feel happy, because then you feel happy too. But how to make sure it's not going to backfire and it's not going to turn into your weakness and you're not going to pay price for it with being resentful and actually breaking relationships where people will not want their help, and when they will end up being not taking responsibility for making themselves happy, but they were relying on you and they will be blaming you for not being happy. How to stop all of that potential risk and danger? Let's talk about it today, shall we? Hi, I'm Elena and I'm a mommy tantrum specialist because I used to be specialist at yelling at my daughter daily. Now, 6 years fast forward, me and my team help busy, loving moms stop yelling, start setting healthy boundaries with natural consequences while staying calm so that the kids listen more. And one day when you look back at their childhood pictures, you will be able to feel at peace and happy with what a wonderful job you did. So that's what we do in this Zen Superman podcast, helping you find out why none of these parenting techniques, not even anger therapy and counseling, is ever going to help you get there. You need to understand the root. Where is all of your uncontrollable anger coming from? That's what this podcast is about. So, welcome to the Zen Superman podcast. And before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified when the next episode is up. Hello, my name is Elena. I'm a mommy tantrum specialist because I used to be a specialist at yelling at my daughter and having mommy tantrums. But luckily for her and for you, I figured that out. That's what the Zen Supermom is about. And this is one of the things that I felt and that I hear now often from lots of clients and even people from my space, all the moms and dads who are coming to me for help. One of the things where we sabotage ourselves and when I used to struggle so much was I felt responsible for making everybody happy. So whenever my daughter was struggling, she was having big emotions, she was overwhelmed, or somebody hurt her, I not only felt responsible for comforting her and for making her feel good, but I also took it personal. If I was doing my best and yet she was not happy, she was not having it, and it felt triggering for me because I really made it personal. That's the key point that I want you to start thinking about also for you. Whenever you make it personal, and whenever there are any victim voices in your head who are making you feel like, how come? You start being resentful, right? And I remember it so well. I was resentful. I was feeling like, how come it's never enough? I'm doing so much. I'm spending so much time. I'm putting so much thought, energy, my creativity, all of my best efforts in making my daughter be happy. Because I had an amazing childhood and I want her childhood to be even better in a way, even happier. How dare she not be happy? I'm doing so much. How dare she not be happy? And you see the paradox? So then I was getting caught up in this trap, for the purpose of seeking happiness and actually not realizing that I'm projecting or I'm so desperate for my daughter to be happy because that was kind of the recipe. I thought that's what will make me happy. That's what will make me feel good enough. And what will make me feel at least a little bit at peace. Okay, now I can breathe. I made my daughter happy, so check in the box. Now I can feel good about myself and I can take at least 3 seconds of rest before I need to start figuring out again what is the next thing I need to do to feel good about myself as a mom, that I'm not failing. And this is the irony of it, because the ultimate intention is good. You love your kids, right? So of course you want them to be happy. But if we take it so far, if you're making the same mistake, if you're falling in a similar trap as I was falling, because I was actually I was trying to mask through that strategy. I was trying to mask that deep hole inside of me, that insecurity, that lack of confidence and kind of figuring out and knowing, what am I even doing as a mom? Am I doing a good job? And because of that, I was actually projecting all of that into my daughter and I was making her the object. And I was giving her the power to make me feel in a certain way. So then I was blaming her. If she was not happy, I was not giving myself the permission to be okay. And therefore, I kind of like put it all on her. And you see how that backfires? That despite the good intentions, because like, yeah, you're a loving, like super loving parent who want to give unconditional love to your kids. And therefore, of course, you expect the result that they will grow up having a happy childhood. But how much pressure that's putting on the kids, and how much blame and shame and finger pointing and judging and criticizing it puts on them for not living up to your expectations and not meeting your needs. Because how dare they not show you appreciation and happiness after you've done so much for them? How dare they? You, in your childhood, like I didn't get even like 50% of my mom's attention that I'm giving to my daughter now. How dare she not be happy and not show me her unconditional love all day, every day, right? This is the trap. This is the trap we need to start being aware of. So let's unpack this. I already gave you like a few clues where that's coming from, what's tripping you up, right? The first thing is to realize what is the reason underneath. Being nurturing, empathetic, caring about other people, being kind of like a selfless Mother Teresa, all of these are good qualities, unless you take them too far and use them as a trauma coping mechanism to make yourself feel better. Feel free to give to everybody, anybody, as much of your energy and love as you want, as long as you don't expect anything back. This is my caveat. Because if you're expecting even an inch, even like a little tidbit of gratitude, love back, appreciation, validation, confirmation that you're good enough, then it's not unconditional love anymore, right? It's very conditional. You're expecting something back. It's a trade. You want to trade your energy and time, masking it like this selfless, I just want you to be happy. I did that to make you happy. No, you didn't. You did it to make yourself feel better if you expected anything back. And I'm not blaming you. I know this is a hard message to hear. Not your fault. This is why all of my talks, most of this podcast episode, they go back to the same root. It is the generational patterns of our own parents. Of course it is. You have probably seen your mom doing the same, and she is now your role model. Because my mom, she sacrificed her whole life. She did everything for everybody else. Everybody loved her, admired her, said what an amazing woman she was, how much she did for everyone. And if she could do it, even with a smile on her face, and never ever yelled at you as a kid, then that was the perfect recipe for you now being a shouty mom. Because you have this unrealistic, impossible role model. You try to be like her because if she did it, why couldn't you? But all that's leaving you is feeling burned out and not good enough because she did it, I can't because I'm trying, I'm doing my best and I'm burning out and I can't do it all because then I'm paying the price for shouting at my kids and they are paying the price for it actually. So that model is broken. It doesn't work. Sorry to break it to you, but boundary-less people-pleasing that expects anything back, and the format that our ancestors used to have, kind of like this was the gender also thing, and I'm going to get just like a little bit in it, but it is part of it, the generational cleanup, because that was the gender role division. Guys were out of the home, providing, making money, like making sure there's food on the table, roof over our head. And the ladies, the moms, they were supposed to nurture, self-sacrifice, and like be the emotional support and never say no and just give. So women are supposed to give, never ask anything back and have no boundaries. And this is a problem. And very often for the moms, like we want to give better to our kids, even more than what we had. And this is where the resentment comes from afterwards. That's how it backfires. You cannot live your dreams through your kids. And that's what many of our parents did, especially if you grew up like in post-communist countries as I did. My parents' possibilities were so limited. They were so stuck in the communist box. And so then when the door opened, the Iron Curtain fell down, suddenly so many opportunities. I could feel it, how my parents were kind of like jealous a little bit. When I came back from my first international assignment, I came back after 4 months for holidays, for Christmas. And I was so excited to share everything. And like, oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe, like there are people in a different country living in a completely different way. And this is similar. They didn't have any of it. They didn't want to hear about it because they were like, they felt judged and criticized that they were not good enough and our traditions were not good enough. Well, this is not at all the message that I had. But they felt like less than, right? And this is what often happens. We are putting so much on our kids. We want to make them happy, give them the best chance. And then we are jealous because nobody gave that to me. I'm such a nice mom to you. I'm not yelling. I'm doing all this gentle parenting. And how is that not fair? Who's going to take care of me? Because I was the child who didn't get the unconditional love. I got yelled at, I got criticized, and I got pushed to be better than anybody else. That's not fair. And then therefore, my inner child is going to have a tantrum because you, ungrateful kid, keep asking for more. It's never enough for you. While I'm already giving you like 1000% more than I had. This is not fair. Who's going to take care of me? This is the risk you're running if you keep reliving this ancestral, generational conditioning that women are supposed to just selflessly give and make everybody happy because it would be selfish if you cared about your own happiness and if you actually took a power to make yourself happy. How dare you? Is that connecting? Are you putting the puzzle pieces together? Yeah. So first things first. If I was you, I would look at all the generational stuff. How did women in your lineage dealt with nurturing, taking care of others, family? What was their trauma coping mechanism? What was their way of making themselves feel good enough? Was it people-pleasing, controlling, perfecting, hyper-achieving? Was it being avoider? Let's not tell daddy and let's not talk about difficult stuff. Let's pretend everything is okay so that he's happy. Again, like the calm and peace, but avoiding difficult discussions. What were their trauma coping mechanisms? And therefore, what is most likely yours? What is your way of dealing with pressure and with meeting your needs? Yeah, because if you got, for some reason, drawn to this podcast episode, that would indicate that probably it's not all cleaned up and straightened up. There needs to be some work done. But first of all, you need to start by doing an assessment. Where do I keep myself stuck? Next thing, if you're totally clueless about how to sort it out, the best perspective shift I'm offering to all of my clients whenever they get stuck and like, well, what is the healthy way instead? My question to them is then, what if it was your daughter coming to ask you? And she will say, hey, mom, I'm just like, my life, I actually got everything I wanted. I have the kids, I have the work or whatever. I thought that was the dream, but I'm not feeling happy. And it's like, and my kid needs this and my partner needs this, or my relationship is not okay and they are not happy. And so I'm killing myself to make them happy. What would your advice for your daughter be? Whatever your specific situation and struggle is. If there are people who are not recognizing your value, not being appreciative enough, they are maybe then even ignoring you, making fun of you, not respecting you. They are not making you feel heard, not making you feel important. What is specifically the thing that you are struggling with? Or you're burning out because you take care of everybody else and you feel selfish to even like be caught sitting on a sofa in case like somebody comes home and you feel like you cannot sit on the sofa because that would be like, you got caught, you're resting. That's not, like, that was me a few years back. I felt like I wanted to know when my husband comes from work because I didn't want to get caught sitting on a sofa. And there was like the 2 minutes that I would sit on the sofa. I never did. That's exactly the reason why not. Because I was so like, I need to be going, do. Because there's so many things to do and I need to feel good that I accomplished it all. I cannot be seen like a lazy, unaccomplished person. Like, no way. Right? So what is it that you are struggling with? And then imagine it would be your daughter coming to you 20 years later, telling you exactly this. How would you want to help her? What would be your advice for her? And it's totally okay if you go blank. Because again, this is generational. It's the same thing as if you came to your mom. And maybe at the end of her life, or like 30 years later, maybe she got more clarity. Maybe she could offer more wisdom. And also maybe it would be totally normal and no judgment if she got even deeper in it and if she still didn't see what she was doing with her people pleasing, how harmful that was for her and for others. It's totally normal, no judgment. Yeah. But this is, my dear, why you need help. This is how generational developmental trauma is dangerous, because it looks like nothing. It's like, what are you talking? Trauma? That's such a dramatic word to use. I had no trauma. I had a happy childhood. Yeah, me too. But I often say that in the mommy tantrum trainings. This is like 1,000 paper cuts. If you got just one, you would forget about it. It's not even bleeding. It's like a little bit annoying for a few seconds. Then you forget it happened. But this is like, if you would keep cutting the finger, please don't do that. But if somebody kept doing that every day on the same spot, several times a day for weeks, months, years, this little thing would develop into a serious health issue, and it could actually cost you your life eventually. This is exactly what generational developmental trauma is doing to you. One instance of this, like your parents loading their happiness on you, one instance of your parents making you feel responsible for their feelings. If it happened only once in your childhood, who cares? The problem is it was a pattern. This is what your parents did because they didn't know any better. Again, not blaming them. They did the best they could with what they knew. But now you know better. This is the drop, 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 drop. I also used another safer analogy. It's like a dripping faucet. If you have a dripping faucet in your bathroom, it's just like drip, drip, drip. It looks like nothing. If you put there a bucket or a bathtub, if you let it drip like this for days, for weeks, for months, for years, that would be kind of a lot of water over time. Yeah, that's the impact of generational developmental trauma, and that's why it is classified officially as trauma, because it leaves deep, deep cuts in your soul, in your self-confidence, in your self-worth, and in your ability to handle your life. Because if you grew up with parents who were putting their happiness on you, who were doing everything through you, and who were making you responsible, and who were self-sacrificing martyrs, then resentful and kind of like, they were telling you, they were arguing with you later on, like, how come you're not this or that because I did so much for you? Yeah. If you had this kind of parents, then of course it's no wonder that you grew up this way. Okay. So not your fault, but it's time to clean it up, because it has impacted your self-confidence, your ability to solve stressful situations, your ability to be able to have boundaries. What are your emotions and your responsibility? And what are other people's emotions and their responsibilities? Because, dear moms and dads, I have big news for you. If you grew up with this kind of generational developmental trauma, it might be news. It might be like revealing and freeing for you. You are not responsible for making your kids happy. That's not your job as a parent. No, you even cannot. It's impossible. You have a pass. You don't have to. You can stop trying. What is the only thing you are responsible for? What is your responsibility? What is your job as a parent? What is your most important job as a parent? Yes, keeping your kids safe, like physiologically, making sure they eat, they drink, they sleep, they are not cold in winter, and yeah, those are meeting their physiological needs. Yeah, that's what the materialistic needs. That's what our parents did with us as well. That's why we are here. Lucky us. Great. And apart from that, what about their emotional needs? What is the most important thing you are responsible for as a parent? Number one, making your kids happy. No. You cannot do that. Are you going to be there always for your child, even when they're 18, 20, 25? Are you going to be there? Removing any obstacles from their path? Dealing with their bullies and toxic people? Are you going to step in front of that train to save them? Are you going to make them like totally helpless victims until mommy comes and saves me? No. Wouldn't you rather want them to grow up into being self-sufficient, healthy, resilient person who can manage whatever ups and downs in life will come? Aha, now we are talking. How do you do that? How do you raise resilient kids who know what their authentic, like being okay at peace, being happy, what that means and how to get that? How do you raise a kid who can do that for themselves? No idea, right? Because you didn't grow up knowing how. But that's it. That's where your healing comes. You need to start with yourself first. Because only you being able to do that for yourself is going to be actually the best role model for your children, so that they can see how it's done. And you walk your talk. You're not shouting at the kids, calm down, when you cannot calm down yourself when you're triggered, right? You cannot tell your kids, just be happy and go, like, live your dreams, if they see you being stuck, sacrificing your life for raising this family and not living your dreams, not even knowing what your dreams are anymore. You see? Lead by example. Start with you. There's so many opportunities. These times we are so lucky. There's internet full of people doing so many things. There's so many free resources, so many professionals to reach out to. Just go and find the one that speaks to you. No excuse anymore. But if you got anything out of this podcast episode, my wish would be for you to realize that the only person who can be responsible for your happiness is you. And that's the same for your children. The best way how to make sure your kids will be happy is to give them your unconditional love. Really, no conditions. Love them through it all, through their tantrums, through them not respecting the rules, learning how to set healthy boundaries with natural consequences, and loving your kids through it. That's the one and only thing you can do. And be your healthy role model and example of how you lead your life and live your dreams and make you happy. That's the best way for them to learn how to do that for themselves. Ready for the challenge? If so, and if you would like my help and the help of my team, I'm going to invite you to reach out. Anywhere you're watching or listening to this podcast, you have always contact details, so reach out and let us know. Let me know what you're getting out of this. What are your light bulb moments that you got out of this podcast episode? I cannot wait to hear. Take care, Supermom. Why can't you stop yelling at your kids? And no, it's not the stress, lack of sleep, kids not listening, fighting, hitting, no support, time pressure, ADHD, hormones. No, moms around the world are doing it regardless. How? Join us for the upcoming Mommy Tantrum training and find out too.